Anger spears. Anger spears are intense concentrations of anger that are thrown at us or our home, property, or business. They are sharp and pierce the aura, and then the tip of the anger spear injects either a small or large amount of venom into our energy body or the energy matrix of our home, property, or business. If thrown at our home, property, or business, the energy toxins from the venom can start creating more anger within that matrix that can play out in many ways. When thrown at a person, it can create the same effects. The attaching mechanism. The attaching mechanism seems to be linked to someone's relationship with the person throwing the anger spear. If close to the person, such as a partner, family, or close friend, the attaching mechanism is the energetic connection between you and the openness to that person. The most common to find in people's energy body is anger spears from a loved one. If from an acquaintance, the attaching mechanism is usually the attachment to how people feel about you. If you're someone who needs to be loved by everyone, then your energy body will be more tuned into others, and this allows things to come in. If from strangers, this can sometimes happen from strangers, such as getting an anger spear from someone who cut you off while driving. They could be in a bad mood and driving fast and aggressive and cut you off instead of giving way, and yet because they are angry, they throw a spear your way. The attaching mechanism is usually if we have even the slightest victim energy running through us. If directed at your house, property, or business, the attaching mechanism is usually lack of looking after the energy of your home, property, or business. When we take the time to honor, bless, and love our space, we strengthen its energetic grid, and this acts as a protection shield. Most people have forgotten the importance of this practice. When it comes to anger spears, they're really, really common, and as you can see, there's different ways we can get anger spears. You know, usually I find anger spears from people close to us who, you know, get pissed off with us. And it's kind of like really, really common to find in intimate partnerships. So it's really important that if you have a client who has anger spears from their partner, that they understand and recognize that this is something really common. It's because we haven't learnt how to process anger, we've learnt to project it. So it's a very different thing to, you know, like someone psychically attacking you, someone sending you psychic knives. If your partner's sending you psychic knives, that's different because they're stabbing you in the back. They're actually underlying trust in some way. Anger spears are different. It's just being pissed off at someone who you freaking love, you know, or you don't even have to love them. It's just being really freaking pissed off at someone and throwing that anger spear. We can do it really, really easily if we don't understand how to process anger. So most people project anger, most people throw anger spears. It's really, really common. It's really important to understand that. So if you're picking it up from yourself, you know, really important to understand that grace that we give people, the grace of the time that we're in, the grace period that we are working through consciousness. We are getting there, but we're not there yet. There has to be a grace period. But at the same time, in saying that, if you are getting anger spears from your partner all the time, man, some communication skills need to happen. The person needs to start getting some anger management, and there has to be a better way of doing things. Otherwise, you know, what's the freaking point? You know what I mean? So it does, this understanding energy like this, especially when you're working with yourself or clients when it comes to close relationships, it's really important to have open communication with people. When we can get really, really intimate, we can start to have communication that allows us to navigate these energies much more healthier. But without that, we're going to end up in a toxic soup of this kind of mess. So really important to use this type of information as a way to educate your clients, you know, how to navigate our emotions and our thoughts, because our emotions and thoughts can create damage for other people, and of course when we create damage for other people, we're also damaging ourselves. So it's really, really just an amazing way to start navigating and working with people so they understand that their emotions and their minds are extremely powerful, and when they can get a hold of them and start processing them better, they can start clearing up their inner world and not creating damage for other people as well. And in doing that, we actually create strong energetic boundaries for ourselves as well. When we start to have a system on how to deal with our own emotions, and we start putting into practice emotional boundaries of what we will and won't throw out to people. In doing that, we also create boundaries on what we won't accept from people. So it's very much an inside job. The results in a person. Once an anger sphere is in our energetic matrix, it allows the poison to slowly leak into our field, and that poison then turns into a bitter energy within us that causes our hearts to harden and anger to build within us. Anger spears between couples can be the best example and the most common ones found. Once couples start throwing these at each other, they usually start closing their hearts to each other and become more and more nasty to each other. Couples have explained it as though they start to only focus in on the negative within each other and can create explosive fights that were once uncommon to become very common events. I've also seen that once someone has more than 3 or 4 anger spears within their energetic matrix, they also start experiencing a lot of other people being angry at them, because whatever is going on in our energy body is reflected in our experience and played out and reflected back by others. So anger spears are, they're quite intense. They definitely can really get into someone's energy body. When someone's got anger spears in them, they start to get pissed off themselves. When you've got anger spears in you, it is almost impossible to not start to have some anger bubble up and start to have smoke come out of your ears. And sometimes people are like, I don't understand why I'm so freaking pissed off all the time. They'll come to me and say, I am just so pissed off. Things just piss me off all the time. I'm starting to fight with other people. All of this shit's happening and I'm just really smoke is coming out of their ears. Usually when someone has over 3 or 4 anger spears, their energy body is just, it's so full on. It's so charged with anger that they can't not but express that anger and have others expressing it back as well. Now, when you have clients who are in relationships where anger spears are getting thrown at each other, it is always suggested, if you have someone come to you and they're in an intimate relationship and you pick up anger spears from a partner, and there's a lot in there, or there's a few in there, then I would always kind of suggest that they think about, suggesting to their partner to have a clearing as well, because having both cleared will at least allow some harmonics to start. Now, this is not going to cure freaking bad relationships, you know what I mean? Out of alignment relationships are out of alignment, and you can't fix that shit. No one can fix out of alignment relationships. But what we can do is, when people are in intimate relationships with someone and anger spears are getting formed, obviously the more that someone has anger spears in their energy body, the more pissed off they get, the more they throw, and it's a mess. So at least when we can clear somebody, and especially if we can clear 2 people at once, they have a moment of breath. They have a moment of clarity. They have a moment of a different choice to make. If they choose to go back to old patterns, they're going to create the old mess, and that's their choice. But in that moment, if they choose to create new choices, they can choose to create a different relationship with different foundations, and therefore maybe move more into alignment together. Now, this is something that you can also add into your services. You might want to do special clearings for couples. You might want to have a family package that might include 2 adults and 2 children. You might want to focus on having couple packages that, it saves them a little bit of money if they get them both done at once. Or you might want to do a couple package where you do a clearing for them, but you also do some sort of education around that as well. So you might have an amazing, beautiful report typed up for couples that in there you might give them some tools and techniques, especially around anger spears, around, those types of things that would be more common in a relationship. You can really think about this. You can actually start to overlay some really beautiful information if you want to focus on something like couples, because let's be real, intimate relationships can create a lot of energetic damage when we're unconscious of how we're projecting. So if you find that you have a lot of people showing up and they're couples who, you know, have a lot of shit going on, you might decide that you have some other tools that you can help, you know, build up their techniques and skills in relating and dealing with each other energetically. But, you know, that's something that has to come in an organic manner. I find that you can't force this stuff, because I really think that by putting yourself out there and start working with people first, and then start to see who the universe is sending to you. Because when you start seeing the reflection of who's coming to you, you'll know where you need to kind of start, you know, focusing more in on. Because if you have a lot of couples coming to you that have a lot of energetic damage because of the fighting between them, then that might be your reason to go, okay, well, let me, you know, either create a PDF or a report that gives them some tools and skills and hints and tips to relate better, and a way for them to deal with each other on an energetic level more harmonically. So you can actually start to use who's coming to you to start to go, okay, well, how can I educate people better? How can I start to use this to really help people find better ways? We don't want to just clear people and have them keep coming back with the same energetic mess. We want to be able to clear people and give them the energetic sort of tools or tips to be able to navigate. So even just telling someone, you know, these are what anger spears are and this is how they're created, just that alone allows people to remember when they get angry that they actually can cause damage to people. And when they're around angry people, they are much more able to recognize that this is a situation where I could get energetic damage, and therefore might be able to make better choices around the situation. So I always find that this type of information actually is extremely powerful and very potent, you know, when it comes to people recognizing and understanding that their relationships are actually very, very important. Not only because, you know, they give us love and stability and all the good stuff and all the good feels, but it's actually a way for us to navigate and learn how to use energy properly while being in intimate relationships. It's the best training ground. So, you know, becoming conscious, aware and mindful, you know, are the only ways that we can navigate and actually not only just have a relationship with someone, but actually grow and blossom a relationship with somebody. Lifespan. They can't hide in our inner worlds, so you'll always find them in a reading if they are there. And they are only a present life thing, so you won't find anger spears from a past life.